You know what I'm here for.
Back on top, punching the clock, clutching sanity.
What's good, y'all? Welcome back. We've talked about a lot of different young cores in the NBA this season, and one that I haven't touched on is the Detroit Pistons, and quite frankly, I like what their future potentially looks like. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and let's talk Detroit basketball. First off, they're not a good team. We didn't expect it to be a good team, which is a good thing, but they're competitive on some nights, even against some better competition. They showed the same thing last season where they were able to beat some, good teams in the NBA. And I think that's, that's good, and it should be optimistic for fans that, we can't compete. We're just not, talent-wise ready to take that step forward. And I think it's good that this team is near the bottom of the Eastern Conference, because that means they're going to be in line for another top pick to add to already the nice collection of young talent that they have. I think they have a very underrated core, and it starts with Cade Cunningham. I don't know why Cade Cunningham doesn't really get a lot of media attention. He's the #1 overall pick. He's playing very good basketball, but when he was playing bad the first few games or the first couple weeks of his NBA career, it was being talked about a lot. Like, man, Cade Cunningham, he's shooting like 20% from three. He's only averaging this amount of points. He's not, effective from the field. It was talked about a lot, but ever since then, he's really picked it up a lot, and it's not being talked about at all. He's averaging like 15, 5, and 5, which is amazing numbers for a rookie. And the team obviously looks a lot better when he's on the floor. He's been great, and it's not really talked about, man. He's played 29 games now, and he's putting up those kind of numbers. So I think it's, since he's going to be an amazing player. It's arguable, who's going to be the best player of this class, but he definitely has a great chance. And I think when the talent level even gets higher around him and guys continue to develop on the team, and maybe they add some pieces through trade or the draft, of course, it's going to be able to show like just how great of a player he actually is. And man, I mean, only 20 years old, I think the future is like super bright for his career, and he can be one of the best players in the league someday. I think Cade Cunningham's not being talked about enough as a rookie in this class. He's been amazing. I know guys like Franz Wagner, Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley have been great, but Cade Cunningham's in that conversation too. I don't think the Rookie of the Year race is over. I think Cade can make a nice push, especially when we get into the second half of the season. Now, the other thing I love about this Detroit Pistons team, though, is that they give guys opportunities that may have, fell out of rotations in other places, guys that were lottery picks. It started last season with Josh Jackson. For those of you all don't remember, Josh Jackson was the #4 overall pick in the 2017 draft. He was one pick after Jason Tatum. He was one pick ahead of De'Aaron Fox. Like, this was a very nice draft class. Lonzo Ball was the 2nd overall pick in this class. Markelle Fultz was the top pick. A very, highly touted draft class. Josh Jackson was a highly touted prospect too. #4 overall pick, went to the Phoenix Suns. And we know the Suns now is not what the Suns was back then. They weren't managed as one in the front office. The coaching was very suspect. And Josh Jackson's NBA career got off to a really, really rough start. He just didn't look very good at times. I mean, he looked like a bad NBA player. And Phoenix decided to move on for him. He went to Memphis, ended up in the G League, spending some time there. And then Detroit decided to take a chance on him. And he showed some really good flashes last season in Detroit. He's shown some cool flashes this season. Now, he's probably not going to be what he was projected to be as a top 4 pick, but he's shown that he can, play viable NBA minutes. And I think it's good that a team like the Detroit Pistons, who are in a rebuild, so they're like, why not give a chance to a young dude that, could not make the most of his situation elsewhere? Let's see what he can give us. And he's giving us some quality time. They did the same thing with like guys like Frank Jackson last year. Frank Jackson was in New Orleans, and he didn't really do much, but somebody that has talent. He was, a top recruit going to Duke when he went to college, and he fell to the 2nd round, but Detroit decided to give him a chance, and he's shown some very good flashes. He's averaging 10 points a game this season in 33 games, so he's played very well for this team. And then I see this season they're doing similar things with a guy like Trey Lyles, who just had a very nice game last night. He had like a 16-point, 13-rebound game. Somebody who was a lottery pick and who's kind of bounced around a little bit. He's been in, I think, 3 or 4 different teams now. And, just somebody that, is now trying to get his value back up and showing that, he's still a young guy. He's only, Trey Lyles is only 26 years old, so he's still a relatively young dude, showing that he can still, provide some quality NBA minutes. And they're also doing things with, like, this is what actually gave me the idea to talk about the Detroit Pistons, because a guy like Hamidou Diallo has really shown incredible flashes, especially over the last 2 weeks. He's had some big time games. There was a 3-game stretch where he was averaging, I think, 31 points. He was averaging like 31 points over a 3-game stretch. He's averaging 11 points on the season, so that's very solid for somebody who was known in OKC as just like a dunker. He's a lot more than that, man. He actually has hoop game. When he went to Kentucky, he was like a very like talked about prospect, and it didn't really pan out at Kentucky like I think a lot of people thought. But now he's in the league. Detroit's giving him a chance to, you know, just play his game, and he's shown a lot of promise. I love that. Another thing I love about this team, they go out, they sign veterans in the offseason, and they get their value up, and they're able to, you know, move on from them. Did it with Mason Plumlee last season, and they signed Kelly Olynyk this past season. He hasn't played that many games, which is kind of poor because he's somebody that could definitely put up solid numbers on this team and get his trade value up so they can get some pieces. But this makes me interested to see what the direction is with Jeremy Grant, and I think that's the next talking point. Jeremy Grant came to Detroit because he said he wanted to be a #1 option. A lot of people, including myself, was like, Jeremy, I think you might be tripping, but he's shown he can be a 20-point scorer. It may not be on, you know, amazing splits, but he's shown he can be a 20-point scorer, which is cool. And it shows that he doesn't really fit the timeline of this core. He's 27 years old. He is almost the oldest player in this team other than Rodney McGruder. So it's like Jeremy Grant is, you know, definitely a piece that is tradable, and I think we talked about a lot of teams would love to have a Jeremy Grant on their roster. I seen my guy Pierre tweet yesterday. He was like, how like realistic is a Jeremy Grant trade to Atlanta for Cam Reddish being a centerpiece? And that got me thinking, that would be a very good move for both sides. Cam Reddish fits the timeline, man. He fits the timeline of the Detroit Pistons, and he makes it more expendable for another guy who I'm about to talk about in Detroit. But him alongside Cade Cunningham just sounds like a dynamic backcourt of the future. And you put that alongside, I think Isaiah Stewart is very good. Haven't even talked about Saddiq Bey, who had a very good rookie year. He started off kind of slow this year, but he's really picked it up lately. I think he's averaging like 15 a game on the season. Somebody that's going to be one of the premier 3-and-D wing players in the NBA, I think. Just imagine adding Cam Reddish to this court. Like, that would be an amazing add. I think it's possible, like giving up Jeremy Grant. I think the Atlanta Hawks would love to have a Jeremy Grant. That would be a nice secondary option to Trae Young on the perimeter. That'd be great. I mean, I think it also ups their defensive versatility. And then with DeAndre Hunter always being a guy that might miss time, he's out right now with an injury. That would be a nice added person into that front court. I would love that move. And they said Cam Reddish is still, you know, up for the taking if a team wants to trade for him because they don't want to pay him. I think Cam Reddish is going to be an outstanding player, and I would love to see it in Detroit. I think the two places I would love to see is Detroit or Cleveland. So hopefully he ends up on one of those teams. And, you know, the thing about Jeremy Grant, I think he can get moved for whatever Detroit wants. I think they will be able to get. I think Jeremy Grant's that good. He's just in a situation right now where he's the #1 option on a team that's bad. He's the #1 option on a team that's bad. And if he regresses to the second or third guy, I think he can still be super productive. So the Jeremy Grant, like, we're going to be hearing a lot about that, you know, the next month until the trade deadline. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on for sure. And potentially trading for somebody like Cam Reddish would mean, like, Killian Hayes' you know, window might not be as big as he wants it to be. Somebody that's just really struggled to get his footing in the NBA. Really struggled so far, man. And somebody as a prospect that I was pretty high on, like, when I went and I did my draft research back in 2020. Was it 2020? Yeah, it was like the end of 2020. I was impressed with what Killian Hayes could be. Like a 6'4", 6'5" guard. Said to have very nice, you know, court vision and stuff like that. Just needed to work on his jump shot. It hasn't come around yet. And I think the bad thing is we've yet to really see consistent flashes. Like, sometimes with young dudes that struggle, we're like, okay, struggling right now, but we see the flashes. Like, when Trae Young came in the league, he was struggling to start off, but we saw the flashes. We saw the brilliance that could be Trae Young. You're not seeing that with Killian Hayes. You're not seeing that at all, man. And it's just like his counting numbers don't look good. His impact on the court, like when you actually watch him, it doesn't look good. I'm not sure if it's gonna work in Detroit. And I'm somebody that I like giving guys time. I think you should give young players time, especially guys that come in the league at 18, 19 years old. Give these guys a little bit of time because, especially guards, because it takes some time to really develop at the point guard spot in the league. It's rare that we see dudes come in off rip and just be amazing, like a John Morant, or, you know, even Trae Young took a little bit of time, but his rookie year he was sensational. Luka Doncic, like, it's not common. It's not common. De'Aaron Fox didn't come in, you know, as a killer, like the killer that he is now. It's not common to see guys come in from day one and be elite at the point guard spot in the NBA. So I'm somebody that's like, give guys time, but at the same time, the sample size from Killian Hayes so far is just, it's not super promising. And I think that's kind of a red flag. Like, his splits look god awful. He's shooting like 34%. And I'm not trying to bash the guy, but a team that I think has such a bright upside, they're gonna have to make a decision on Killian Hayes. And the way Cade Cunningham is playing, I think you would want the ball more in Cade's hands than Killian's. So it makes him super expendable. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. But the thing about this Detroit Pistons front office, I love what they're doing. I think they make the right moves. I think at the time, like, a Killian Hayes was the right draft pick. It was the right pick at the time. And then you're able to get the #1 pick next year, and you get Cade Cunningham, which is the right pick. So I love what they've done so far drafting over the last couple of years. Interested to see where their pick falls this season, what they do with Jeremy Grant, and just how guys continue to develop, man. I want to see jumps, you know, even from Isaiah Stewart. You know, Sadiq Bey continue to improve from his poor start this season. I want to see Cade Cunningham get into the, you know, the driver's seat of the Rookie of the Year race. That's the two worst teams in the Eastern Conference, and maybe even the NBA right now, are the Pistons and the Magic. And I think both of those fan bases, we talked about the Magic a few weeks ago, they should be optimistic for the future. I think the front office are making the right decisions. I think the coaching is cool. We'll see. Maybe Dwayne Casey's not the guy, because he's probably a coach that would want to be coaching competitive basketball, but maybe he is the guy, you know, to bridge into the next, you know, head coach, whoever comes around in Detroit. Maybe he is the dude for right now. I think he's doing a fine job. And I think Detroit basketball, it's not back right now, but it will be back within the next couple years. I'm a firm believer in that.
Off season. Let's work. Hey, plotting my escape this game.